Hello, testing. How do I sound?
Like
Not better
dog shit. Oh.
Hey, Scott, I think you should put it landscape.
Yeah, turn your camera. Every time, dude. This is episode 25. Come on.
Come on. Here, how's my sound? Can you
Good.
hear this?
Oh,
Sound
nope,
like
turn
shit.
it up.
Nice, I can hear it now.
Never gets old.
Hey, everybody, it's Dove from DKE Toys, and welcome to DKE Toys TV. Oh, no.
All right.
With this week's guest, Matthew Casale from Assembly Required. What's up, dude?
Hey, just really busy. Coming in the last couple of weeks, and sleep is a luxury.
I can imagine that producing your own convention is crazy. So can you tell everyone who's watching when it is, how they get there, where they go, what to do?
Sure. Well, it is February 3rd and 4th, just around the corner. You can go to assembly-required.net to find all the information. I'm going to post the schedule live on Monday. We usually have a kickoff party on Friday night. That'll be the 2nd. And a after party Saturday night. So the whole schedule will be up by Monday.
Awesome. And so for people who don't know, tell us about the show. What year is this? Is this 4th year, 5th year?
6.
6
Oh,
years. Man. Wow. That's amazing.
This is 6. Yeah. Technically COVID was like, I don't know if we can count that.
You put on a show. You did a whole virtual show. That counts. If that doesn't count, my worth is nothing. So,
yeah, that's true. It's true. It was 14 hours of live footage. That was pretty fun. But it'll be our 5th in-person event.
Pretty good. And where's the show being held? It'll
be at Gray Eagle Music Hall. We had it there last year for the first time in Ashville, North Carolina. And we really liked the venue, and all the artists really liked the venue, and the vibe was there, and it just really came together really well. So we're going back, and it's we're looking at potentially future years there, but Asheville doesn't have a lot to offer when it comes to venue space that is larger than that, except if you're going to move into like a civic center or a hotel, and those are not avenues that I'm entertaining, at least not yet.
Need like a high school gym or something like that.
yeah, that would definitely be a step up.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you imagine Edwin Wallace just wandering around the halls of a high school in between selling wood blocks?
No,
I've heard rumors.
I don't know. I think you have a better location now than a stinky gym, but yeah, I think. But the show promoters I know here in Los Angeles have difficulty because there's. If you don't want to go to a hotel, you're stuck with sort of like, actually the hotel of choice out here is the Burbank Marriott.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just use this ballroom, and then they use the hallways like surrounding it. So like Son of Monster Palooza and Scott Ziller and all these people, because they're so easy to deal with. But the next step up is like Pasadena Convention Center. And then it gets super difficult. Like you're dealing with the city. And then when you outgrow that, like Designer Con did, then they're looking at LA Convention Center, and they couldn't do that because of the logistics there. And then they had to go to Anaheim, and that's crazy big and
it's massive.
I mean, I think it's nice that you're doing an intimate show. So why Asheville?
Well, I moved here in 2009. I think I discovered the scene in 2015-ish. But I moved down here for my job. I was like in the audiovisual industry in hotels, and that was kind of a career before COVID.
That's why you have a hatred of hotels.
Oh yeah, because they will rip you off. Service fee. I helped create that definition. Pull a service fee on me.
So now you have to
but
atone.
This is your penance.
exactly, this is it. I'm giving back. But no, yeah, I picked Asheville because after I discovered the scene and I realized what I wanted to do. You know, I'm also an artist, but I also, you know, the move down here, having a kid and buying a house and all that stuff, really, you know, wiped me out for the first 6 years that we were here. So after that, getting back into making art, that's when I discovered the scene, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm a sculptor. I want to do this. I want to work with these materials. This is how I want to roll moving forward. Because, you know, I was working in clays before that, but it was an honoring the pop culture that, you know, I grew up on. And so once I decided to go down that rabbit hole, the other thought in the back of my head was, how cool would it be to have a designer toy show here in Asheville? It's got a great vibe. It's got great subculture. It's got great like the River Arts District. There's a lot of artists here. It's got a lot of beer. So that equation, you know, equal designer toy artist. You know, so I started talking to some artists, primarily Figure Fetish and Battle Babies, who were Figure Fetish is still here in North Carolina. Battle Babies moved out, but he was here in North Carolina at the time. And I was like, "What do you guys think about this idea I'm thinking about doing?" And they were like, "Yeah, that'd be great." And I was like, "Because I really don't feel like traveling to New York and California, and nobody, you know, there's so many artists down here that have never been to any of those shows, but a lot of them, you know, just they move in circles down here. So I was like, you know, there's a huge culture down here, just in the surrounding states. So it's South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, just nearby. So I was like, wow, there's a lot of people down here, and lo and behold, you know, I put it out there into the world, and everybody was receptive to it. So I was like, well, what the hell? I worked on creating events for other people for the longest time in the AV hotel industry. So why not create something for myself that I actually love doing? And voila, yeah. So I did it, and it
Amazing.
worked.
Do you so as an artist yourself, do you have time to actually produce something? Do you ever show your own work at the event?
This is probably the biggest conflict I have, and it's only because I don't have
Mhm.
time often, um, and one of the things I've had to come to terms with was, you know, I think of my 12-year-old son as my greatest creation.
Wow.
Second to that, this event is probably my second greatest thing that I've created.
Mhm.
So even though I can't sculpt and do the things that I want to do in my brand new fucking awesome studio in the backyard,
Mhm.
um, on the off season I can. Once the show's done, then I go back in there for, you know, a couple months, and then once I start revving up for the next show, I leave the studio and slowly but surely start putting it behind me.
Mhm.
I think I decided if I'm going to do anything for the show, I gotta have my work done by August.
That sounds rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we know everybody else is painting in their hotel room before they come down to the shows.
Right.
Right.
Like, oh, the show's gonna open. I gotta glue my blisters down. Yeah, they're on the floor. Like, wow.
Unless you're resin blood and you're tattooing people in your hotel room.
That's true. And then he's just making the toys on the show floor. He's painting and just
I was
right.
gonna say, yeah. He's tattooing while the glue is drying and the paint is drying.
Well, at least he's not sniffing the glue.
Well, he's doing that too.
Oh, sorry, Eddie. What was that?
That was a glue sniff air
Is
horn.
that air horn?
It's so versatile.
But so as an artist, like doing like this business venture, then not having time to show your art at the show, is that, I mean, do you get the same fulfillment out of doing the show as doing your art?
Um, I thought about this question this morning
Mhm.
while I was driving to work because it always comes up. And as
As you were driving to a
an
hotel?
as an artist, you create work, for yourself, hopefully first,
Sure.
and then you get so much joy when other people actually enjoy your work and like your work. So there's a similar chemicals are let loose in the brain when so many people enjoy this event. It means so much to so many people. To say that I created this to mean this much for this culture would be a lie because I was creating this event because I just I wanted to design a toy event in my backyard.
Right,
um
because you didn't wanna
Primarily,
travel.
so I can bring right. There's definitely some selfish factors to it. um but like after year one and year two, I just like the resonance throughout the community was amazing. I was dumbfounded. I was humbled. And to have created something that means so much to so many people now, I have it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, maybe I can't sell my art to people and have them appreciate that, but
Mhm.
by being able to inspire people and bring people together and like it in so many ways, it's so much better.
Sure.
Yeah, it's sort of the same thing as, like at Designer Con, it's so awesome to be an attendee, but it's also like, well, I also want to show there and even if you have a booth or whatever, you can go like take a hot lap, but it's not the same. It is different because you want to be there, you want to be an attendee, but you also want to make the stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
It's different, even though it occupies the same space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this space is small enough, intimate enough where it has essentially become a family reunion. It has essentially become an opportunity for everybody to come to every year to kick back, talk about their stuff, compare, share notes, share processes, share, techniques, throw down a bunch of beers, go out to dinner, come back to do it again the next day. Like it's like a big party, really.
I've heard it described as like the makers show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's where the makers go.
It's a little bit of
assembly required. It's where the makers go.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
it's a bit of karma too, though, for us coastal people that have had these conventions for so long, and then we hear about this great show that now we have to travel to, and it's like, damn it! It's like,
All right, see how it works.
getting you guys what you deserve over there, since we've had it for so long.
And
When
so
did
what
Designer Con start?
When it was Vinyl Toy Network, was it
yes,
2004?
yeah, it started as Vinyl Toy Network, but there was almost no presence at the time of anything resin. And then as resin became like acceptable in the scene, and then resin action figures didn't sort of creep in till later. So yeah, it started a long time ago, but it wasn't it's not like, and even now the resin, the aisle, the DKE Con aisle that we put together to get everyone all together, still 10 booths, 12 booths. It's not it's like it's one, what did I say, like 1/20th of the show, or 1/50. It's like we're
Right.
just we're
Yeah.
still the redheaded
Yeah, I
stepchild.
kind of the way I explain, from Designer Con to 5 Points to Assembly Required, because I'm still introducing people to the culture here in the Southeast because people still don't know what it is. They don't understand it. It's and that's part of the beauty of being able to do this was because I really wanted to play a role in helping to introduce it to people and help explain what it is to people and also help define it for some of the artists because a lot of people were just like, I think I'm doing this and I think I'm doing that. Am I a designer toy artist? I'm not really sure. Am I doing it right? Like, so
Mhm.
like there was a lot going on that I thought, I really wanted to be a part of it and help move that along and help that to grow. And the way I always describe it is like it's kind of semi required, it's kind of like concentrate. You go from Designer Con, which is this huge event, and then you go to 5 Points, which is much smaller, but it's still pretty large, and it's bringing people in from across the world, from other countries coming, people, and then it funnels. It's like concentrates. It funnels it down to the artists and the makers, an exclusive, straight to the vein kind of event that's very small, very intimate, and still packs a punch.
Well, I mean, I keep telling myself every year, like, I need to go. Like, I need to go, right? And
I've been trying to get you out here. You should.
it's so rough, man. It's like just stopping everything. And yes, I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it.
25.
I will try.
We'll see you here in next year, and we'll have this discussion again.
So then I guess my last question is really about the audience, like what, because I mean, the reason that I appreciate what you do so much is it's sort of it is the same thing that we're doing, is just spreading like the gospel of, what this art form is. And
right.
Even when we do Designer Con, we're still explaining to people what it is, right? You'd think that everyone going to that show understands, an action figure as an art form, and still people come up and they're like, what is this? Like, what happened? Like, if you right? I mean, if you just walk into the show and you understand that artists make toys and stuff, and then you see this stuff, that it's, it's like you see hundreds of these figures. Like, where did this come from? I have no cultural reference point for this at all. This stuff is funny and creative. What is this? And so we spend a lot of time explaining stuff to people. And you'd think, in Southern California that it would be different, but it's not. And so I just wonder, like in Asheville, like you have people wandering in off the street, like when you're doing local promotion. I heard last time you talked about like radio promotion and all this stuff. So when people show up and you're like presenting this, what kind of reactions are you getting?
It's same stuff. Like there are just so many people that don't understand the scene, don't understand the culture, don't really get it. There's something that doesn't click. And what I sometimes tell people is like, look, stop trying to put a label on it. Talk to the artist, look at the stuff, just enjoy what it is. Stop trying to understand it or put it, put it in a nice little box with a bow on it. There are contradictory elements to the toy definition, and the action figure. There's there's putting it in the box, it being a sculpture versus it being a play thing. Like, I could see where people would get confused, and it's sometimes you just don't have to put labels on things. Sometimes you could. This one lady, I remember, I'll never forget this. Year one, our first year, she walked up to the door and she's like, "What's going on there? What is this?" And I said, "Well, it's designer toy, bootleg toys. They're sculptures. All these artists are here." And she's like, "I don't get it." And I said, "Go in." I'm pretty sure I didn't even charge her entry. I said, "Look, if you think it's worth it, pay me on the way out. Go in, walk around, talk to the artist, look what's going on." And they came back with the big smile on their faces. And they were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, trying to explain it is not fun. It's
Sure.
Seeing it, holding it, being a part of it, participating in it. That's fun. That's cool, but trying to explain it to people is not the fun part."
It's hard too, because most people say it's like, well, this is a bootleg toy, and then even that's a misnomer,
Right.
that it's not
Right.
a bootleg. We sort of came up with this artist-made action figure, but a lot of times it's just a slug figure, and a slug figure isn't technically an action figure.
Right.
Like your head sort of spins every time you try to, and then there's an entire subgenre of that, of just an empty blister on that, and a blister on a card, and you go, "Well, this is a toy," and you go, "Well, actually, it's nothing." And so, yeah, trying to slap a label on it's difficult. Just I guess just let it wash over you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, the number of Christmases I've spent trying to explain what I do to family members is pretty significant over the past 10 years.
But Janky, you had a good, what was that when you were on Toys Alive last week? How did you define it?
Well, the toys are my canvas. I mean, I use the shape of action figures as the cultural touch point, you know. And it's art in the medium of action figures. But I mean, my stuff I don't even consider to be toys, because you don't play with them, you know.
Right.
They are static pieces meant to be left on the card. I'm just using the genre and the iconography of action figures as my inroad, you know, for the art.
Right.
I try to describe it when I say, like, you know, like how Bob Ross had happy little trees. I have, it's called self-loathing sculpture. And then it's glued onto a card back.
Yeah. Pay $80 for my own self-failures.
Yeah, and it's overpriced.
But when people ask me like what I do, like, I mean, I can just answer that 100 different ways, but you know, I generally say that I work with artists, right? Because first and foremost, everyone in the scene who's creating stuff is an artist. And I think what struck me about what you said, Janky, is you said, I'm an artist, and then your medium happens to be this thing that looks like a toy, but it's not really a toy.
Right.
And that's just sort of a mouthful and very hard to describe.
Similar to what you were saying, Janky, I think I have it on the site, was I said that it's a motif. The toy is a motif. It's just like, it's the canvas. When I first discovered the culture, when I realized I needed to be a part of it, was because I realized that these artists were using my childhood as a canvas. And that's why I was like, oh my God, I need to figure out more about this.
Was it Yo-Yo Dine that did the figure that was the parody of the Magritte painting, the "This is not a pipe," but it was
not a pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of sums it up really well.
Yeah, that sounds like something that Yo-Yo Dine would do.
If he didn't, he probably will. I mean, I'm pretty sure he did, though.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, I don't know, and that's what draws me to it. You know, it's not a single discipline. It's not a single outcome. I've been on about this a lot lately, but that's why I love it so much. And I think that's why the people that get pulled into it so deeply love it so much.
Right.
It's because it's not just one thing. And
there's infinite layers.
Yeah. And because you can walk through assembly required, you can walk past the DKE table, and you've got all these things that have no business working together. And they all do. And it's because they've got this through thread of toys that kind of ties everything together, even if the pieces are completely different in approach and in messaging or whatever, you know. That's a big part of what keeps me here, is just how cool and flexible that is.
I love seeing it go beyond resin. I love it when, like you had mentioned, Edwin Salas, you know, I'm honored to be able to have introduced him to this culture, you know, during our second event. And then he started making those wood Star Wars action figures. Nobody was doing that. That was really cool.
Well, and you say make Darth Vader to 5 people, and you're going to get 5 completely different interpretations of Darth Vader.
Sure.
You know,
and I think the most fun thing about the Decon lineup last time is we had 3 artists working in wood, right? And you know, Edwin, you know, doing his thing, which is folky and beautiful, and you know, everybody loves Edwin. And then there was 1980 who did the boombox that is, you know, very technical and, you know, laser cut with machines and, you know, CNC and all that kind of stuff, putting stuff together. And then there was Sometimes You Gotta Say Toys, which was, he was basically just sculpting, you know, this very exact replica. I mean, it was like to have 3 people working in the same you know, the same group, the same medium, but then have 3 completely different styles. That was that was a great moment, I thought.
That sounds cool.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot. I feel like at Decon this year, there was a lot of people that, because we had those pieces, we had the gigantic Shogun Warrior wood piece that Edwin did. And then
that thing was crazy. It's like 2 feet tall. Like,
it's huge and it's gorgeous. And you've got the recollection pieces. And we saw a lot of people really having that eye pop moment when they realized, oh my God, like toys is way bigger than than the shelf at Walmart. You know, there's a whole lot more going on here.
And then Sadat had his figure made out of bubble gum, remember? Waiting for that one.
Well, and then Rika and your son Samuel were working on a Cheeto, an action figure made out of Cheetos. I thought
were they carving a Cheeto?
They were gluing Cheetos together.
They're just hot gluing Cheetos together, Fritos together. And wow, yeah.
Now it's time for What You Dove Buy. Hey dude, what'd you get?
All right, so this artist that I just ran across called Cantina Customs.
Ooh, this sounds like they had your name written all over them.
Yeah, right.
I saw Dove coming a mile away.
I mean, this is probably just one of the artists in the scene already who's like, I need rent money.
So yeah. he just, I mean, he just made black and white Cantina members. I saw one of them, and then I was like, can you make the other ones? And when you have them side by side and you're looking at them, you think that you're in a, like you've just fallen into the Twilight Zone. Because,
film noir.
But so much fun.
Oh, wow.
It's Cantina Customs, I think, with a Z, if you want to check him out on Instagram.
How long till Hasbro's putting those out with the retro collection sticker on them, just like that?
Right.
Yeah, that'll be next.
I know he's making stuff and he does auctions and stuff, but he does commissions. The figures are, I don't know, a lot of them were like under $40.
Wow.
And
cool.
It just, I don't know.
They're really clean. That's, yeah.
I didn't get a lot at Designer Con this year, but I think one of the highlights was Galamanitan.
Wow.
Which is a mashup of Galtan and a Manaman.
I mean, anything with a Man automatic home run. So,
and Galtan.
It's just just fantastic.
It's Safubi.
It is not. It's resin.
Oh,
but it
wow.
But it's painted like Safubi in that
style. It looks
style.
like it. Yeah, yeah.
It's really excellent. That's
pretty wild.
A guy named Jeff. He's on Instagram at mockbat_SS, but his name is Jeff Talica. And he.
Fuck yeah.
It's
called Galtanaman.
Galamanitan.
Far out, man.
Yeah, it's just exceptional piece there. Also, I wanted to thank Steve Casino, who sent out a holiday gift.
Oh boy!
I couldn't imagine that someone would make. Maybe I'm not supposed to share this. Maybe he didn't send it to everybody because I don't know how that worked. But got this box with all this, and it just says "Happy Holiday, Steve."
Oh, I love these.
And he made a little coffin.
Can I? Yeah, it's amazing. Everything that he does. I mean, I'm just such a huge fan. It's Ted the dead light bulb, right?
You already know what it is.
He put it on Instagram.
But
oh my god, it's so good.
I mean, the time to send these to people for the holidays, like I can't. I don't know. Thank you, Steve. It was amazing. I was honored. Just
can I tell you something about Steve? I love Steve so much. He sent me something for Christmas. The box came from Steve Casino. I was like, wow, he's just such an amazing guy, and I was very honored that he or anyone even thought of me during Christmas. And I opened the box and there was nothing in it. It was a fucking empty box with nothing in it. And I was like, and I looked at it and the box had not been tampered with. And I was like, is this like a passive aggressive like fuck
That's
you?
amazing.
Like,
Wow.
I was like, it's not even like a piece of coal, or it's not even like he forgot to put the toy in there. He just sent an empty box, and now I'm like, it was so nice of him to think of me, but now I'm like, hey, Steve, the thing that you sent me, it wasn't in.
That's an uncomfortable conversation.
It's a
It
piece
is.
called, Scott, it was a piece called The Thought That Counts. And
And that's what I said. I was like, there is no greater example of it's the thought that counts, because after I did tell him, I said, this is an empty box. And he goes, well, what was the name on the box? And I go, there is no box. He's like, was it Ned, Ted, or I go, there was nothing. I go, there's nothing in it. He's like, but what was the name? And I go, I opened the box and there was nothing. It got so far where I'm like, I felt so bad. I was like, the thing that you went out of your way to send me and be so nice. I go, could you find in your heart to just send it again?
maybe complete the process this time.
Wow. But he was like, I was wondering why I had an extra one. But
Oh.
I love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
so
thought the
funny.
empty box was the whole point. Like it was a gag. Like there was a punchline. Like he sent it on
I mean, that's the
purpose.
thing. With Steve, I could believe that. I could believe him crafting, but there would be more to it. It would be like an elaborate box with nothing in it if it was
right.
Yeah. But I love him so much, and then I sent him a little something too. But
it was an empty bag. Just shipped it.
Yeah. Mine was an even bigger empty box.
Another thing that came in are these video cassettes from Awesome Toy. In this, okay, but here's the thing, and this is so weird, is it's not really a video cassette. The cassette inside is vinyl. It's a vinyl toy.
Huh.
Of a video cassette in a cardboard box in this Blockbuster wrapper, and they got Deadly Prey Gallery to get Ghana art on it, and Awesome Toy, but their website I think is Toy Underground. Same guys who do the Skullmark figures.
Yeah. The toy, the thing that comes out of the sleeve is a VHS tape.
Is a vinyl toy. Yes.
See, look, this is what we were talking about before. Even in the scene, we're like, explain this to me.
Do you have an open one?
I will open one.
Okay.
These are, I mean, just having the Ghana art on there alone makes the whole thing.
You can move on. That's okay.
Yeah, that's pretty magnificent.
I'm doing an unboxing.
Seriously, Ian.
That's what people love.
His name is Lackluster instead of Blockbuster. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
That's funny.
I guess I'll just go fuck myself.
About time.
It says Screaming VHS is an experimental project that combines illustration with toys. The videotape itself is a squeaky toy made from soft vinyl Safubi. What?
And it squeaks?
We're going to find out as soon as I stop stabbing myself with this stapler. Maybe I should have taken in.
This is one of those weird things where I'm looking at it and the way it's packaged and presented is so good. I wouldn't want to take it out, except then you don't get to experience the squeaky toy.
Okay, so it is a cardboard box with the Ghana art on it. And then here's the VHS.
Wow.
I can hear
that. Is it squeaking? Oh, there it is.
That was me.
Can you hear that? Oh, you probably, is my microphone canceling out the sound?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
That's the sound it makes when you squeeze it. That's
Here,
pretty great. Like that's wow.
Ian's gonna go squeeze it on a real microphone. Did you hear that? No,
No,
that
it's not.
technology is not allowing you to hear the squeak, but it's squeaking. It's mind-numbingly squeaking.
I just hear air. It's just like.
That's this fucking microphone.
How many of those did they?
There's this one set with Jurassic Park, Videodrome, and They Live, and then there's another with some Hong Kong films, which I didn't get. I didn't know them all. One was a John Woo film, I think, that I'd seen, but others I don't know. Anyway, talk about experimental stuff. When I saw that, I was like, "This is what mind blown." Had to own that.
Implementing squeak technology into
right
vinyl.
The next frontier.
Yeah.
Then this other company called Horrible Home Video made these.
Ernest Goes to Hell.
And there's actually not a the inside is just like a pin and a piece of candy and a button and a Jim Varney magnet and a koozie and stickers and a little print and
it's all it all has to do with Ernest Goes to Hell.
Yes, and here's Ernest Goes to Camp Crystal Lake.
It's about time. About time we got some Ernest love here. Ernest for Dead.
The Evil Dead.
There's this one. And then
Wow.
the real reason that I bought them was the Toxic Chainsaw Massacre here.
Of course it was.
They're all Ernest themed, and then the last one is like
He's got a few other ones, but I like if he keeps making Ernest with mashups with horror films, it just fits into like the parody stuff that I like and the VHS. It's just
You can't miss with Jim Varney.
Yeah.
Ernest. When I was a kid, I was a huge fan. I had the doll. I went to the movies.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a nostalgia whore.
Know what I mean?
And then I don't like to review stuff that people send in for the purpose of review. It really said no to a lot of people, but I couldn't say no to Agronautics because Agronautics is one of the companies that we distributed for back in the day, and he started making bobbleheads of the first one we ever sold was a bobblehead of GG Allin, and we offered this out to this group of like vinyl toy stores that were, I don't know what they thought, right, when I offered this thing, but I'm like, this is amazing. Like someone made a bobblehead of GG Allin, and so
I think we need a squeaky toy.
right. Well, one that like, and when you squeak it, like poop flies out would be good.
Yeah.
So Agronautics sent us this, the GG Allin and the Murder Junkie set.
Oh my god.
And it's and he has since done bobbleheads of, I don't know, every single name in the punk rock scene that I can tell. But it's I don't know what to say. Like,
That's pretty great.
So just thanks to Agronautics for sending us those. They're numbered out of 500. He sent it before the holidays, so I don't even, is that like a bottle of Jim Beam in his hand?
Oh yeah. Yep. The bloody kneecaps. Wow.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Pretty great.
All right, so there's a couple books that we don't often talk about books on this show because I could start a whole show just about art books. But I'd say in the past 5 years, there have been a handful of books that for me just had everything. And one was the He-Man book that Dark Horse put out with all of the art, with all that Earl Norem art of all the boxes. I thought that was just epic. That book of Atari art. I think that amazing. I lost my mind. But
fantastic book. Yeah,
I committed to this Kickstarter, and this one just puts everything to shame. it's this GI Joe book.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
And so the
Yeah.
guys at 3D Joe's have done several Kickstarters and have released in magazine format a recreation. They took photos of all the figures and digitally removed any damage to the figure, any price tags, any offers to present the figures like in their purest form. And I think there was 6 volumes of it. And then he finally did a Kickstarter for a book, and I thought they were just going to reprint that. I think that they got like $500,000 or something. It was like insane, and I thought I was just getting a reprint of these things. And then when this thing showed up, it was like I saw God. Because this thing should have been put out by Taschen.
Holy crap! You need like a church pulpit to put that thing on.
I'm not sure I can even show it to you like without. I'm gonna do storybook style, but he has gone back. I don't know if you can see this, but so not only did he reprint. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Not only did he reprint the artwork from the magazines that he put out, but then he added the file cards of all of them, but then went and found what he calls the unadorned art, and he talks about even the process where sometimes he found the originals, sometimes he found prints, sometimes he found the Kodachrome slides that were in press releases, but it goes through, and there's tabs, and he goes through all the art that were on the lunch boxes and the comic books. And
That's
then
fantastic.
Wow.
and then does full pages. So Hector Garrido did most of the original art from the first few series, and it just anyway, it is the finest book based on toy arts that I've ever seen.
Amazing. Is that thing still available?
It is. I don't think he's going to be able to afford to reprint it. I think in the Kickstarter, maybe it was a couple $100. Maybe they're $300 now. I'm not sure. 3D Joe's. We're going to put up the info here. Mine came with this print set. So that's what he did. He made these magazines and then would make prints. And
I almost got taken on Kickstarter last year, so I'm sort of sworn off Kickstarter.
I mean, we've all been taken on Kickstarter.
The risk,
that's sort of the this was the
Amazing.
This looks like the Marvel cover, but it's not. And
that one's going on Dub's wall.
Oh gosh, just unbelievable. Like if
Those are
any piece of art that I want more than anything in the world, it's this. It's just and Hector Garrido is he's one of these old school artists. He did every cover. You remember like the Nancy Drew books and the Hardy Boys? You know, I forget there's 100 books in the series. He did all of those painted covers. Wow. So all of that stuff from my childhood. Anyway, can't say enough about this book. So, and then if the book's if you're not into books or it's too expensive, I recommend going onto their YouTube. Now I've watched, DVDs and Blu-rays of movies, watch the movie and then listen to commentary of filmmakers explaining the process. And I find that especially if it's a movie you like, it's fascinating, right? He's got a YouTube video that's an hour and 40 minutes long, and he is just turning each page of the book.
Oh, wow.
And on each page, he's either talking about the people he had to track down, the people who contributed, how he made the book, about all of the stories, and this artist did this and this did that. And I sat there and watched it for an hour and 40 minutes. Like my attention span these days is like, it's just fucking like, I was transfixed on a guy turning pages in a book for an hour and 40 minutes.
Wow.
There's like a little trill every time that he.
And then there's gatefold pages, and he talks about the mystery. There's still some art they can't figure out who did it, and they talked about the process and the licensing and who was hired for this. And he went back, and then once he submitted this to Hasbro, he got no notes.
Wow.
They're like, great, go ahead and print it. So at the very least, if you're on YouTube now watching this, go 3D Joe's and find this video. It is the history of G.I. Joe in art, and it just mind blown.
I mean, talking about like, you talk all the time about being instantly recognizable across the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, G.I. Joe, I think for our generation, may have set the bar for that.
Joe
with that
art,
orange
yeah.
explosion and the character on the card. And I mean, even though I wasn't a big G.I. Joe fan, I don't think I can think of, I mean, maybe the Star Wars card, but I even think the G.I. Joe card has a more iconic, recognizable, immediate feel when you see it, you know?
Yes.
And they talk about that, and they talk about the reason that they went with paintings. A painting for every figure and went to the expense of doing this was because they wanted it to feel like a movie.
Yeah.
Right. They were competing with Star Wars figures and all this other kind of stuff. It was 1983. Like they wanted it to feel like there was this crazy like story, and it just this art that they found, for like the Tycho trains and it's like, it's nothing I have ever experienced in a book. It was like, and as I was going through, I thought like, this is my mind. I like Taschen should have put this out. Like this should be in the Taschen store. Like this is like and to raise $500,000 and then just take all that money and spend it on doing the most, I don't even know how many pages this thing is. It's got to be 500 pages. It's crazy. Like it's like 16 by 16 and that thing, insane.
Amazing.
Anyway, yeah, highly recommend it.
It's incredible.
Wow. All right, there's one more thing I'm going to go off on before we go. I know everybody's got to go. Is our buddy Adam F. Goldberg produced this documentary called A Disturbance in the Force. And it is how the Star Wars Holiday Special happened.
Wow, I never heard of that. When did that come out?
Just very recently. It's on streaming and on Blu-ray and DVD. And
that's amazing. Oh, wow. I watched Dan Larson did a special on it as well. I love Toy Galaxy.
I mean, the interviews in here, I mean, he's got like Kevin Smith and Weird Al Yankovic and all the people from Lucasfilm, like Gilbert Gottfried, like this. And so I guess I didn't understand. I never saw it on TV. I was too young. And it's just something that came to me in like a VHS tape at a convention later. And it was always just this like shitty, unwatchable thing. And they start to explain the context of like network specials at the time and what they looked like. And they start with like the Donnie and Marie special, and they show Star Wars, and they show like what was the motivation for Lucasfilm to commit to doing this, right? It's because when movies went away in the theater, toys were still coming out. They wanted it to stay in the present, people's minds. So, so it starts with the Donnie and Marie special, and it's like, what? Like, I mean, I guess I'd seen it, but they're dancing stormtroopers, right? And then it cuts to like Bob Hope, and like Bob Hope is in a fucking Darth Vader costume, Mark Hamill, right? And they talk about like how, George wanted it one way, but the people that they hired were these sort of like show people who did shows, right? And it made total sense to them to have Art Carney in it. It's like, that's
B. Arthur. Yeah.
B. Arthur, right? And they interview B. Arthur, and they interview like, and then the director
she's in it too. Wow.
Everybody's in it. It's insane. Wow. And then they find every clip of every actor, Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, talking about it or trying not to talk about
they
it.
talked to Lou Ferrigno about what it felt like to get preempted that night.
The documentary starts with it saying like the Incredible Hulk is not going to be seen
shown
that's
tonight.
awesome.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I've seen a lot of documentaries in my life. I have never just laughed out loud.
That sounds fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hunt that down tonight. Yeah.
And I think for the artists who go out and see this, because at the end, and not giving it away to say that people are talking about what failure is like, and like what putting something out there that you're not proud of. And Donny Osmond, like he's, you know, he's right there on the box, and he just says, like, he looks back at the Donny and Marie show and he hates it. Right? That's not who he is today. And it's just like, and how he, you know, he sort of had the same process where he's like come around, like it's part of his life, it's part of, you know, who he is, but it's not, it's part of his past, but it's not who he is. Like it's not, he's not a variety show, but that's the only way we remember the dude, right? And just, I think fascinating.
He's a fascinating guy, I think.
I can imagine.
He's like a champion of free speech, and he produced like some heavy metal acts and stuff. You know,
there was Crazy Horses. There was exactly Crazy Horses. I heard that for the first time just a couple months ago. I didn't know it was him. I heard this song and I was like, "What the fuck is that? That sounds amazing!" And I looked it up and I was like, "Holy shit, guys! This is Donny Osmond."
You never believe that it's the Osmonds.
It's him self-atoning for all the stuff he hated.
Again, another thing I just highly recommend, and I just recommend it for Star Wars fans, and I recommend it for any artists. I mean, they interview the dude from Jefferson Starship talking about, like, you know, they said go in the room and just grab some props and dance around, but and then we all think it's cheesy, right? But at the time for television, they thought that all those special effects of, like, you know, little Lumpy looking into the box, and
we thought it was okay to not have one word of dialogue for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's the part of the documentary I'm going to be most interested about, is that thought process.
Unbelievable. Highly recommended.
I'm watching that tonight.
All right, we gotta go. Matthew, if you want to just sign out here and give us the spiel one more time, where we can find your information, how we get to the show, and where we buy tickets, and the dates. And
assembly-required.net is the website. It is in Asheville, North Carolina. Assembly Required is the Asheville's Designer Toy Expo. It's coming up in a couple weeks. You can get tickets right on the website there as well. It's at the Gray Eagle. We've got a kickoff party the Friday night before. We've got an after party on Saturday night. And one thing I actually want to bring up as well before we go, I think you know about this stuff. Our DJ, for the last couple of years, he came down with cancer and has been he was in hospice briefly and released from hospice with a different diagnosis. But Remix Plethora and Hip Hop Toys actually was amazingly kind to put this together. So we're going to be selling these at Assembly Required as well. We'll have 100 limited edition Cousin TL toys.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Hip Hop Toys is, I mean, he's a great guy.
Doing great work.
We're really excited. I'm really honored that they did this for TL, and we're hoping to raise some money for him.
Sounds awesome.
That's so great.
Well, thank you, dude. We really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. Appreciate what you do out there, you know, doing God's work, pushing these artists in the medium, and it's really, really important. So
we're gonna make it out there one year, because everybody tells me how great it is. So every year I feel like I'm missing out when I get the report. So
2025.
There we go.
2025. That's gonna be the year. All right. So anyone who places an order on DKEtoys.com, if you mention DKE Toys TV in the notes section, you get a free Invisible Sucklord. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at DKE Toys. Subscribe on YouTube, also at DKE Toys. If you want to reach me, dketoys@gmail.com. If you want to reach Janky, have a comment about the show, something you want read on air, You hate us, you love us, whatever it is, that's dktoystv@gmail.com.
And eventually we'll get back to reading things on air again. We've been kind of busy
Eventually.
the past couple months, but
What else? We still have some free t-shirts left. If you watch a couple episodes back, we show all the shirts. There's instructions there for what to do. And in a couple weeks we will have Brian from Toys Alive on.
sweet.
Oh,
And,
great.
Oh, cool.
That's it. And I know that Matthew's going to go be on Toys Alive right now.
Woo!
Yeah.
Doing the
So,
surfing. Junkie.
Over,
awesome.
yeah.
well, thank you guys. Thank you, Janky. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you,
We'll-
guys.
We'll talk to you
What
later.
about me?
I got 2, you got none. Ah!
I said Janky.
You said Chris
Janky.
and Janky.
Chris,
Oh,
Ian.
Janky.
It's okay. I'll just go fuck myself.
You know, Doug just Steve Casino'd your credit. Just an empty box credit right there.
Wow. Can't wait to see that graphic. All right, guys. Thank you again. Thank you, Scott.
Stay fresh, cheese line.
All right.